Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kay Batikin, your moderator for this afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to extend a virtual warm welcome to all of those who are here with us. Thank you for joining. Let's get right into it. This year's International Design Conference is quite different, as you may have noticed. We're all completely digital. And instead of a marathon of speakers packed in 2 days, you're getting almost a week of design inspiration from global and local thought leaders. In the age of physical distancing, it's amazing how design still prevails. We can still connect. We can still discuss. We can still create an open space for the collaboration of people, even if it is, for now, a virtual one. The International Design Conference this year is entitled Design Futures, Better Normal by Design. IDC 2020 begs to answer the question, what is the role of design and designers in the Great Reset? I bet some of you already have an idea on how to answer this question. I know I've thought about it a lot since we went into quarantine. Hold on to your ideas because this is what we'll be getting into for the next 5 days. Before we move on to the welcoming address from Abdulgani, let me ask you a simpler question first, just to get your mind warmed up for the next batch of speakers. On the scale of 1 to 4, with 4 being the highest, how important do you think design is in this day and age, especially in the context of COVID-19? All right, you can start keying in your answers now, and we'll be back to check on the results later. As you're keying in your answers to the poll, let me take this time to thank our amazing partners who made all of this possible. Our official media partner, Adobo Magazine, and our event partners, British Council and Buenfalido Architects. Thank you. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce DTI Undersecretary Abdulgani Macatoman for his opening message.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the virtual edition of the International Design Conference, organized by the Design Center of the Philippines, an agency of the Department of Trade and Industry Trade Promotions Group. The coronavirus pandemic has indeed turned our world upside down, inside out. We all recognize the extraordinary times that we live in, but more importantly, we have also come to recognize the remarkable role of design in shaping a better present and a brighter future for all. Every day we see more and more designers rise up to the challenge of developing sustainable, functional, and lean innovations by using native technologies and culture as a jump-off point. Say, for example, a design award winner, Rachel Dagnalian, who took inspiration from the traditional pottery of her hometown in Tiwi, Albay, and managed to merge tradition and modernity in ceramic designs, opening new avenues for the region to further sharpen their craft. Also, Kenneth Coponpoy, one of the Philippines' renowned furniture designers, who also uses his Cebuano roots to craft his masterpieces using sustainably sourced materials that both carry functionality and aesthetics. And then you have also the local design innovations such as Bambike and Peñapel that maximize already found resources, upscale and transform the raw materials into a socio-ecological enterprise. And these are just some of our many great design and creative talents in the Philippines. Through the International Design Conference, we want to highlight the potential, influence, and impact of design and designers in this modern and transformative age. Design Futures, Better Normal by Design will bring to the surface the whys and hows of building innovations of sustaining changes and of defining what this means for individuals, communities, both public and private organizations, and the policies to be set, especially in these changing times. Throughout history, crises have been catalysts for individuals to think creatively and pose the way forward to sustain life as we know it. As many consider, we are at the tipping point, and I am reminded by the words of Ram Emanuel, and I quote, "You never want a serious crisis to go to waste." And what I mean by that is an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. And in that same spirit, the International Design Conference 2020 is once again bringing together global and local thought leaders, albeit virtually, to share their unique vision for a post-crisis tomorrow in a week-long event open for all designers and even non-designers who are interested in daringly taking the first step into imagining a new age of design. As we open the first virtual International Design Conference in the Philippines, I would like to congratulate the Design Center of the Philippines, the Executive Director Ederia, for championing the ways for designers and non-designers to come together in a space where creativity and collaboration, fueled by future forward thinking, can flourish. The time is now to activate the Philippines' resources to a whole new level by allowing innovative designs and designers to show us the way forward to create a better future and better normal by design. Once again, welcome to the International Design Conference 2020, Design Futures, Better Normal by Design, and I wish you all a successful conference. Thank you and mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Yusek Gani. I totally agree. Now is the best time for us to show off our rich design resources. Earlier, we asked you a question on a scale of 1 to 4, with 4 being the highest. How I'm giving you another chance to place in your poll. We'll reveal the answer first speaker's session. Before anything else, let me first acknowledge our incredible event partners, with whom we couldn't have this first ever virtual international design conference. Our official media partner, Adobo Magazine, and event partners, British Council and Buen Salido Architects. Thank you very much. As I said earlier, the big question with a capital Q for this year's IDC is, what is the role of the design and the designers in the Great Reset? Our first speaker will be sharing just how life-changing good design really is, literally. She's from the Index Project, a nonprofit organization based in Copenhagen, specializing in and promoting and mobilizing life-improving design. She's passionate about diversity and helping purpose-driven businesses succeed. Not only that, she's also a leading voice on design for good and an active advisor and mentor to organizations establishing social businesses. All the way from Denmark, here's Ms. Liza Chong of the Index Project.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Yes. Can you hear me? Great. This is fantastic to be with you all at the International Design Conference. I'm sorry we can't be together in person, but this little flu that has taken over the entire world has given us the chance to connect virtually.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful privilege to be with you and to be able to share some of our insights that we've seen over the past 2 decades. And I'm very much hoping and wishing that today's talk gives some hope and optimism about how designers can be the key to
we would love to hear it.
pressing critical problems of our time.
Yes, definitely. Please, take the floor.
Hello. Great to be with you all. My name is Liza Chong. I'm the CEO of the Index Project. So I'm connecting from all the way from Copenhagen in Denmark, and it's a real privilege to be able to be with you virtually. The pandemic has kind of placed a pause on any type of travel, and it's still wonderful to be able to be with you and to share some of the insights that we have had over the past 2 decades, and to be able to inspire, educate, and also to engage you in our philosophy of design to improve life. So I very much wish that today's talk gives some hope and optimism about how designers can be the key to solving critical challenges of our time. So despite the global health pandemic, ecological, economic, and social, humanitarian, technological challenges, the challenges are unsurmountable. We would like to be able to show and shine a light on some of the positive possibilities and examples of life-improving design as a way of helping us forge forward in the Great Reset. So as you know, the world is plagued by problems, as I listed just there. There's no shortage of the problems. In fact, we hear about problems all the time, and the challenges are creating fatigue, anxiety, and countless other types of mental health challenges that we are feeling every day. And our belief is that we are living in the Anthropocene, and this is the geological era where human activity will be remembered as the prevailing influence on our climate and environment. And this will cause societies all around the world to be pressed in finding irreversible solutions to the damage that's been created by us humans. So we've had quite a role in creating some of these problems, but our belief at Index is that design is the antidote and must be the antidote. So the Index Project, if I can share with you what the organization is all about. We were founded in 2002, and we were born really with the sole purpose of putting design on the global map. Of course, Denmark is known for Danish design, so it goes without saying that it's in our heritage to talk about design. So an organization like ours was created to be able to share with the world what design can do and what positive impact design can have if applied and servicing the critical needs of people all around the world. So what we do is we teach, we award, and we invest in people using design to change the world. So our philosophy is called Design to Improve Life. It's very self-explanatory. We focus on design that's beyond beautiful form, function, aesthetics. We like to talk about design that's creating positive change and how we can use these examples of positive change to influence and encourage a new generation of designers that are coming to surface and coming to fruition. We want to be able to engage new designers, emerging talents, to actually look at design as a way forward. So one way that we can actually use our vehicle to encourage and engage young designers is through an award. So back in 2005, the Index Award was created by the Danish government to award the best examples of design to improve life. We run it as a biennale, which means that it's every 2 years, and we open source nominations from all over the world. In fact, we encourage countries and designers from various corners of the world to nominate their designs. So typically with design competitions, there are administrative fees, there are barriers to entry. Our design award is open source, meaning that we don't charge an administrative fee. In fact, we encourage designers to nominate their projects and multiples if they have them. We have 5 categories with 5 winners and a prize worth €500,000. And the prize money is generously sponsored by the Danish government, again, to really elevate design to improve life and to really show the inspiration that these designers every 2 years are showing and sharing their work with the rest of the world. So since the start of Index Award, we've received over 8,000 nominations from just below 100 countries, and we've had 9 cycles of Index Award. So that also means that we've been around for some time and we've seen a lot of solutions. And with that knowledge and insights, we can use these cases as examples in educational context, but also with view for investments as well, because we believe it's important to invest into early stage companies that are really doing things to change the world. So the 5 categories of Index Award, and I'm going to give you some examples of some of the best cases that we've seen coming through Index Award over the past 18 years. And we think it's really important to actually look at the history and take inspiration from what's happened in the past in order to start forging forward in our new reality. And I really hope that the young designers out there really get some ideas and creative kind of inspiration from some of these examples. So in the body category, the first example that I'd like to share is a project called Zipline. So Zipline was one of our winners from 2017, and it's a small drone delivery service providing medical supplies to remote hospitals in parts of Rwanda. In fact, they are collaborating with the International Red Cross in the Philippines. So Zipline will be coming to the Philippines. So as you can see here, this is blood supplies which are in high demand, and rural contexts where roads may not necessarily be built, clinics and distribution centers can be completely bypassed through the use of sending deliveries through drones in this way. So it can carry vaccines, medicine, blood, basically no roads, no problem. So we see these little zips racing at 100 kilometers an hour. And it's very simple, providing much needed supplies urgently on demand, without any need for building heavy infrastructure. The next project is Project Color, and this is one of our winners from 2019. So this is incredibly game-changing in so many ways. So this is the world's first garment designed by pigments from bacteria. So Streptomyces cilicolor is the bacteria that resembles the smell of rain. So you know that smell after a rainfall. So that's the bacteria that's released into the atmosphere. And Nat's side, Chiesa, who is the designer here, she's actually an architect by graduates, by education. She's developed various different types of protocols to use bacteria as a way of dyeing fabrics, and in this case, silks. So what's wonderful about this, and in many ways, we are talking about the big divesting from the black fuels. So divesting from coal, from gas and oil is somehow very much connected to an energy crisis, and maybe like a thinking of renewables in the way that we consume energy. But what we don't see is that our material world is also dependent on fossil fuels, particularly in the fashion industry, where fabrics and chemicals are dyed using fossil fuel-based chemicals. And this is a great alternative to use nature and biotechnology in a way that can improve the way the material world is constructed. So this is a very, very inspiring way of looking at how we can use nature in the way to not only inspire us, but also to build and construct with. In the home category, we've seen so many different types of solutions that obviously are related to housing and homes, and this one no less. So this is a project called Elemental, and as you can see, this is like a block of houses which are in one part fully built with a void right next to it. So let me explain to you, this is actually social housing in Monterey. And it's actually looking and rethinking house building in a groundbreaking new way. So in the 21st century, this is the first time in human history that the majority of the world's population are living in urban spaces. So in fact, we've passed the 50% mark now, where the global population will be living in cities, and that of course drives up the demand for affordable housing in these urban spaces. So the architects Elemental are based in Chile, and they were looking at a project where typically 30% of the development budget to buy land is kind of an afterthought, because you would spend the 70% to build the house itself. So you would actually apportion the smallest amount of any given government budget to the land itself. So that means that usually these social housing communities are quite far away from the center of the cities. So what Elemental did here was, rather than focus on using the vast majority of the budget on the house itself, let's use 80% to buy the land and focus on 20% to build the house itself. But choose land that's in the city, closer to where people work, closer to where schools are, and closer to where communities are based, to basically prevent people from those long distant commutes. So use the 20% of the budget to actually build half a house. So as people start building up their savings, they're able to actually expand into that void where they can grow value on their property, and thereby giving some dignity to communities to actually grow into spaces which will oftentimes give them so much back in terms of the pride of being able to invest into your own home, but also, to uplift and to move people away from the stigma of social housing. So this is a great way of dealing with scarce resources, and this is one of my favorite examples of seeing communities being invested in and grown and developed by the people living there themselves. So here you can see finished void. And of course, people place their own identity in the spaces that they invest in. It's incredible. So the next project, vastly on the other side of the pendulum, is a project called Marsha. And this is 2019, one of our winners. And what I think is very exciting about this, and this is really housing on Mars, controversial as it may be, I think it's incredibly exciting to start looking at spaces and incredibly harsh environments to build in order to inform and build up knowledge for how we should be building on harsher environments here on planet Earth. So it was a controversial winner from 2019, but nevertheless, what it taught us was the need to actually look at the extremities, because quite frankly, the world that we're living in right now are moving into those boundaries of extremities. Now, only a few weeks back, we all saw the images coming out from California, from San Francisco, looking ever so similar in terms of atmosphere. So we are in a place where our climates are vastly changing, and we need to be able to adapt. So getting the knowledge of building 3D printed vertical homes on Mars is in a way to help inform the way that we should be building for the here and now and the near future. So you can see simulation of what the inside of these homes would look like. They're conical in shape in order to optimize the habitation inside, and also double layered in order to be able to expand and contract according to these extreme temperatures. And they are tiny little bubbles in order to make it humane and home-like in a space-like environment. The company that are actually building this are typically known for building those giant skyscrapers all across urban cities around the world. And if I may quote the CEO of Space Factory here, we develop these technologies for space, but they have the potential to transform the way we build on Earth. And who knows when and if Marsha will ever make it to Mars, but the design has already been recognized by NASA for its ingenuity and potential in terms of feasibility. So here you see the 3D printer in progress, and the composition of the material is made up of plant-based polymers and the dirt that is to be found on the surface of Mars. So this is also not a way of transporting materials and heavy equipment and so forth to construct these giant buildings, but to be able to use the resources that are there on Mars. Again, like this is Mars shot, and of course, to give the sense of imagination in terms of what can be accomplished. This is a great example in that sense. In the work category, so we've seen a number of different types of solutions that support people's livelihoods. And one of the most exciting ones that I've seen in the past, and this is from 2009, still highly relevant for now, is Kiva. Most of you may know of it, some of you may not. And it's a peer-to-peer lending platform to give everyone access to financial capital. And it almost feels really old-fashioned now to think about that. We are so used to the technology supporting different types of transactions. But Kiva.org was the world's first person-to-person micro-lending website. And it was very, very successful, still is very successful in empowering people to lend directly to small entrepreneurs in many parts of the world. And you know, in the way that Wikipedia was helpful in expanding people's knowledge and democratizing access to information, Kiva has that same potential in terms of democratizing access to capital. So yeah, one of my favorite projects in the past. So the next one is a winner from 2019. Again, so showing you the breadth and range of Index Awards. So this, if you can see, almost looks like a disco light, but it is an LED light to help with the process and to prevent bycatch, which is the kind of overfishing within specific species of fish within the fishing industry. So roughly 1/5 of the global population relies on fish as primary source of protein. And for more than 20 million people globally, fishing is their primary source of income. But new laws on bycatch can help basically damage ecosystems, recover damage ecosystems, jobs and livelihoods often suffer, and fishing crews don't often have the technology to both sustainably fish in a way that's efficient. So this is a project called Pisces. You can see here that it attaches to fishing nets. So essentially you can program different lights to help fishermen with attracting the size and species of fish based on the different types of wavelength of light. So certain species of fish are more attracted to certain wavelengths of light, and some are more repelled to. So you can actually program it to be able to attract the specific fish species that you need, and thereby being a little bit more efficient in the process. I say a little bit more, but this is actually proven to reduce bycatch by 90%. So a small device like this can actually go a huge way in terms of helping with sustainable fishing. In the play and learning category, we see so many different types of solutions here. I'm going to tell you two of my favorite, which incidentally are actually created and founded by the same Stanford professor. So what you see here is the fold scope, and the fold scope is a 50-cent microscope. So it's made out of paper. It's like an origami. And you can attach it to a smartphone and a magnifying glass. So really, again, democratizing the access to education, especially in emerging countries where school environments lack the resources to be able to have the types of equipment that are needed for teaching science, technology, engineering, maths subjects. So this is a great project. I would strongly urge people to actually take a look at these fold scopes. They are absolutely wonderful. In the same vein, Manu Prakash, who was one of the founders of the fold scope, created the paperfuge, which is a 20-cent blood centrifuge. Okay, it seems really, really audacious, but here you can see this is inspired by a 5,000-year-old toy called a whirligig. So what he did was that they built out a different type of centrifuge, which doesn't depend on electricity and is a very, very effective way of spinning blood samples. So you can actually separate plasma from the blood sample in just 90 seconds. So again, this is a type of design that we see coming more and more into the Index Awards. It's called frugal design, where you actually look at low-cost innovation and really strip out the simplicity of the design using affordable materials, and it's just super elegant and it tells a fantastic story. In the community category, again, we see this is typically where we're overpopulated with projects. Community is obviously very much on people's mind. it doesn't go without saying that the oceans that are surrounding us are more and more polluted with plastics. I mean, this image says it all. This is the Ocean Cleanup Array. A lot of you might know of this project already. It was one of our winners from 2015. And this actually is a floating structure that uses the currents of the world's oceans to basically clean out the oceans of plastic. So, I mean, this is a fantastic visual reminder of how much pollution is out there in our oceans, and that we need to be taking better care of them. This is designed almost to entirely be self-sufficient, so running on the energy harnessed by the sun and the waves, and it's, I mean, a formidable design in that way. So already in prototype, they've been using the Bay of San Francisco to start prototyping the array itself and to do thorough testing so that it can be fully implemented. And I think just fantastic, one of my favorite Index Award winners. So the next design, I mean, again, visually so beautiful. So this is the challenge around the 110 million deadly mines hidden underground all around the world. The designer is an Afghani who's based in the Netherlands, called Masoud Hassani, and he developed this project called Macatoman. It was one of our finalists, and as you can see, it's based on a tumbleweed toy, so it's inspired by a tumbleweed in a way. And what it does is that it's powered by the wind, and it's built with GPS sensors to be able to track the path and declare safe passage for people, because in Afghanistan alone there's 30 million landmines still lurking below the ground, and with 26 million inhabitants. So it's fair to say landmines are one of the biggest threats in Afghanistan, and yet the horrors of these mines get so little coverage. So this is a fantastic example of a solution that addresses that, but then designed so beautifully and elegantly that it's actually exhibited in MoMA in New York. So this is a great way of looking at an ugly problem, but designed in a very, very beautiful and visually elegant way. So how do we evaluate the designs? So this is typically what we're asked, what's the criteria? But I'll just give you a breeze through of the criteria, and it's very simple. So the first parameter is based on the form. So this is concentrated on the general aesthetics of the design. As you saw, the Macatoman just there, visually, it's inspired by something you would see in nature. So we're very much looking at the general aesthetics and the color, the materials, the user interface, those surfaces. So that's the form. The impact is the second parameter. So this is about the potential positive effect of the design. So over and above what we know of how the design would come into use and function, I mean, this is really, really important for us to actually already set the potential impact pathway. So how does it improve life? For how many people? How does it rank from a social, economic, environmental point of view? So the potential impact is really quite, in my view, quite critical in terms of a criteria around design to improve life. And then the context. So context is about meeting the needs of where the design will be used. So for example, a design that's made for an audience in maybe Amsterdam in the Netherlands may not necessarily be translatable in Indonesia, for instance. you know, the context is very much how does that design respect the cultural codes and the societal needs, religion, climate, geography, ethics, and adapt accordingly. So context is really, really important when looking at how you create your design. How can it be applied in different contexts around the world by different users? So finally, without, you know, it's obvious, and without sort of saying implicitly, we work within the framework of the SDGs. I mean, the organization was created in 2002. I mean, of course, that predates SDGs, but I'm so pleased and glad and almost relieved that the world is actually working towards, I would call it the kind of like the priority to-do list, right? So this is 2030, and we have to get to a point in the world where we can address these problems. I mean, of course, we know that there will be new problems that arise and new challenges that will create obstacles and potentially sort of mean that we would need to pivot in the way that we view the world. But here we are, you know, we are pledging our support towards the SDGs, and we believe that's the right thing to do. And I'm going to give you a quote here, which is that designers are the future. There really is no bigger design project than creating World 2.0. I think this is a very, very apt way of saying that there's an urgency and there's a huge call to action. And I think design and designers are really a huge part in that call to action. And I would urge all of you to look at your creative practice, to look at your way of viewing the world, and say that you can be part of it. And I really, really wish and hope that there's some optimistic and hopeful designs that come from the Philippines, and I look forward to seeing them in our next cycle of Index Award, which is in 2021. Please do nominate your designs. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, and thank you so much for your attention, and I wish you a fantastic International Design Conference 2020.
Inspiring words, Lisa. Thank you. Your work absolutely speaks for itself. I see empathy as elemental in the realization of good design, and I feel this echoes what we Filipinos have been hearing all through our quarantine. Malasakit. It's validating to know that some of the best designs in the world were powered by it. Systems and simple actions that transform lives in quiet but powerful ways. The Index project has so many stories to tell behind the designs they awarded, besides the one that Ms. Liza just presented. So do check those out on their webpage, the indexproject.org. We'll check back with Lisa later on. Remember to take down your questions, and we will be addressing them for later Q&A with our speakers. All right, back to the poll. Are you ready for the results? On a scale of 1 to 4, with 4 being the highest, how important do you think design is in this day and age? That was what we asked before Ms. Liza's presentation. Now, here's your verdict. Okay, 90% agreed on a 4, very high. 10% agreed on a 3. And I absolutely agree. No surprises there. Design is incredibly important right now, and we've only scratched the surface. There's so much we can harness, and I think that our next speakers can shed a bit more light into that. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of compelling sound bites from Miss Liza Chong's presentation. You can expect to get a lot more as we go along in the next 5 days. If you have questions, again, I am urging you to write them down, as we can discuss it later with our speakers during our Fireside Chat. Our hardworking communications team will be on standby for your questions, to go ahead and write them out. For the last session, on the first day, we explored the life improving and life saving aspects of design now. We will be exploring how we can make good design available for everyone. Democratizing design. Is it possible? Our next speaker is from the Lockdown Lab, a community of makers who believe that the culture of sharing and helping will outpace the spread of this pandemic. Our speaker for this evening is actually the founder of the collective, a maker, writer, and single mother. Zaika Tumaliwan is a consulting curator at Lopez Museum and Library. She is an advocate of transformative education and free press, and she is also the founder of Quago Publishing Lab and co-founder of Komura, Book Fair, Lockdown Lab, and Kopya Digital Archive. She is one of 3 Filipino fellows in the 2018 Salzburg Global Forum for Young Cultural Innovators. Let's welcome Ms. Zaika Tumaliwan. Hello, Zaika.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Kay, for that introduction. I hope that this talk could inspire everyone and emphasize the importance of community, of collaboration outside your industry, reaching out and learning from people outside your sector.
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
I'm Zaika Tumaliwan, and I'm a writer, a maker, and a cultural worker. And just a quick background about myself. Before I found those 3 words to define who I am, what I do, I worked in the tech industry, in the cybersecurity industry for a long time, in spaces like Accenture, Trend Micro, and in a makerspace in Quezon City. And I also worked for a while and learned from the director of Knowledge Channel, learning educational technology and media literacy before I started co-creating rather, spaces and projects that was mentioned earlier. A lot of people ask me, because I've been using this slide for quite some time now, and they're asking me, why are you using this amateur shapes? Don't you know how to use InDesign, AI, or Photoshop? The pandemic, as the previous speaker said, has really shook us. It made us feel that we know nothing. And this kind of mess, chaos, and confusion, we have to accept it. And it invites us to be all beginners and go back to basics. And this presentation is an invitation for everyone to just go back to basics and, dive into solving problems with that in mind. Be beginners again. Lockdown Lab started on Facebook, and I actually started with a friend. So I'm a co-founder of Lockdown Lab. It's a virtual lab, an incubation space where we share ideas and projects that we can learn from and we can build in our own like houses, because during the start of the quarantine we can't go out, so we have to hack it. In Filipino, we have a word for it, discarte. We have to just think of a workaround with whatever's lying around. And it really showed the wit and the bayanihan also in the community. And that kind of thinking of just sharing your designs, like not thinking that someone will steal it, but trusting that they will develop it and credit you for that. And That kind of generosity, which I sometimes call radical generosity, letting go of your designs, of your ideas, not thinking that other people will destroy it, like just trusting that kind of process. Is the foundation of Lockdown Lab, and it's a movement around the world. The maker movement is a response to the rapid consumerism that tends to dehumanize and depersonalize designs and objects. So basically, this lab allows you to personalize the custom fit objects that you will use at your home or at the office. Yes, we can also industrialize and elevate, create a social business around it. But like just starting is important, and at the lab, that's the main principle. I just wanna share this quote from Arundhati Roy, a writer and an activist based in India, and it really inspired the creation of this lab, which I believe is a portal. Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine the world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world onto the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our data banks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through it lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. So for me, Lockdown Lab was a portal, a Facebook community that just started with my friend who's a software engineer by profession, but is also a maker. Later, I can expound what a maker means, but he also makes a lot of electronic projects. And before he tried to make like this camera, a security camera that you put in a door, so that when you're out, when someone like a robber goes in, it texts you. So and that was just like something he found in GitHub, like an instruction or a project he found in the internet that was given for free by the community that is around the world. Um, um, So here, Lockdown Lab, it's a portal. We are a think tank of community for open source solutions and hacks against the COVID-19 virus. So it's a repository of ideas, of designs, and of projects. It's not really a formal organization. So it's a space where a lot of people who owns their own companies and runs their own nonprofit organizations meet and just share ideas. In the beginning, we consulted Reina Reyes, for example, a physicist and a data scientist. And she's just there. John Tan, also a designer, famous for Rocky Farm. He's just there sharing his wonderful videos using like bottles like this to make masks. So I guess like it's really that portal where you have these people from experts to non-experts. It's just a classless group. Um, I'm gonna share a sample of a video that was shared in the group. This is by Angelo Casimiro. He has a very good YouTube channel. At 17, he started like building his own robots. um, Play, please.
In this week's You Can project, we're going to build the simplest motion-activated alcohol and soap dispenser.
From Italy this evening, it just gets worse. The death toll now worse than China, 427 deaths in just the last 24 hours.
Weeks after quarantine, it's really cool to find some kids using Arduinos to build a hands-free alcohol dispenser. Eventually, a friend of mine from Facebook, Sir Martin Miranda, built a much more refined version of the Arduino project. I then took on the challenge to build a low-cost version without using an Arduino. For this project, you'll be needing a DC water pump, which you can buy online for just less than $2. You'll also need some aquarium tubing. In my case, I still had some medical tubes from a previous project. For the electronics, you'll need a proximity sensor module, which you can buy for $1, a TIP32C PNP transistor, a 1 kilo ohm resistor, some wires, and an extra USB cable.
I think the video is not playing, but please visit Angelo Casadira's YouTube channel. It's called Tech Builder. He has a lot of following, and he's also building these DIY projects in TikTok. Um, I hope you watch it. In this video, he was demonstrating how he made a contactless hand sanitizer because during the pandemic, we want to minimize contact to objects and with people. He started this idea. Basically, he built upon the idea of Martin Miranda, who's the owner of Laredo Hackerspace, also a hacker and engineer. And based on that video, he built something different. That didn't use a specific electronic. It's called Arduino. It's an open source hardware. Next slide, please. So how do I hack this thing? I think we're having a problem in tech. In the next slide, I'm gonna just show like the projects that we've been working on in the community. As I've said, it's a combination of hackers, makers, engineers, scientists, artists, people from the arts and the science and technology sector. And as we wait for the tech to get back on my presentation, I'm just going to continue sharing what the community has been up to. The community started in making like low-cost ventilators, and they consulted doctors in the Philippines in making it. We also had Mapua University helping us, no? Very generous. The dean of Mapua helping us, being there, waking up 8 a.m. for meetings just to talk to everyone. And it's really been like a learning process for everyone. Me, I'm not an electronics person, but I guess I'm there to glue each other to make a home around this virtual environment. We also have I wish my slides are working, but so I can show you the stuff. But we also built a PPE sanitation box. So one of the problems that we saw during the pandemic is waste. So how do we minimize waste? And then Simon Gregory, one of the engineers in the community, suggested to make a PPE sanitation box around this like do you know the device where we sanitize the tools we use for manicure and pedicure? So using UV ray. Later, I can share to you how it looks like. How it looks like. We're just waiting for the slides to go back again. I am so happy. I'm kind of used to this kind of like failures in technology because of the environment that well, the community that I belong to, where we welcome chaos and embrace that. It's okay. It's a space to grow, to make mistakes, and I think we kind of lost that kind of openness because the pandemic really made us nervous. It literally killed a lot of people. So we got stuck. Um, and now I'm also stuck. um, so another project that we did is a distant vital signs monitoring device. And then one of us are doing contactless hand sanitizer and elevator buttons and automated faucet. Um, Later, when the slides are working already, I'm gonna show you a mix of projects that we did inside the lab and just projects from the community. And this can involve electronics, and sometimes it does not involve electronics. So the DIY community is not just about things that move or fly. It's really about also maximizing low technology. My friend Gladys Regalado calls it island tech because we're in the Philippines. We don't have this money to buy a lot of electronics, and technology is expensive. So I guess like the beauty of DIY tech is there in island tech. Um, Okay, so it's already working. So those are the sample projects, and we have industrial designers doing this in AutoCAD. But sometimes it ends up really like, since it's just a prototype, it's very DIY. Um, and we're just waiting for the next slide. Um, the maker movement, it was basically based also on FOSS, the free open source software movement, which embraces peer-to-peer reviews, open sharing of designs and knowledge. Open source comes from software. It's open source code, the one you use to develop programs and interfaces. And it became a culture, you know. And Massimo Banzi, one of the co-founders of Arduino project, again, Arduino project is a hardware that you can just use according to your needs. It's customizable. You can see all the projects like in Make Magazine, in it's all online in GitHub. Just go to this websites. YouTube has a lot also, and he once said that he really likes that hardware becomes like a piece of culture that you share, you build upon, like a song or a poem with Creative Commons. So again, no, radical generosity. Um, um, Now we're just waiting for the slide. When you go to our Facebook community page, this is one of the pinned posts, and I really love the previous speaker where she shared this origami microscope because um, origami it's very basic. It's just paper. It doesn't have electronics, or it doesn't need electricity to move. And There's this NASA engineer who loves origami, and then suddenly he started to apply that in what he does in NASA, and made this solar panels that moves like origami. So I think going back to basics, to low tech, to just mere creation, like allows big ideas to grow. And And this is one of the projects that we have in Lockdown Lab with my co-founder, Rex. he made a patient monitoring camera, like for just like I guess 500 pesos. He made it, maybe less, um, with like items lying around his house. And full video is in our page. You can check it out. It's very like if you just follow the instruction, you can do it. Um, he used a 3D printer to make it like cleaner. So I wish it's less blurred, but you can visit our page or like join our Facebook community to check these projects out. Um, and this is the design looks really intimidating at the beginning, but since during the pandemic we didn't have access to labs, to our own labs. We just this Simon Gregory just found like things lying around and just put this together, and he was able to make a PPE sanitation box. You can see there's like a mask there that you don't have to wash, but it can be sanitized, so you don't have to buy again and buy again. And I think in terms of sustainability, it's very important. Where do all these masks go? You can find all the instructions how to use it in his Instructables account. We were also able to help a lot of hospitals and communities by developing these incubation boxes. Clifford Go helped us fabricate it. He fabricated in their space at home, and we just found a way to deliver it through connections. Again, a radical generosity. People who you don't know, you're just meeting there and having that same mission to help and through our projects. Again, no, just to wake everyone up, this projects doesn't have to involve electronics. It can be as simple as using your bra to like as a mask because you don't have anything around you. And I really love when I saw women doing this because it gives you some personality. Um, and again, no, like we don't have to be like a graduate of applied physics or industrial design to make. Like any one of us can make. From that very DIY project, we see Mitch Dulce, a fashion designer and a visual artist, sharing this project on Facebook. And basically, she made made an open source her design of PPE suit, and it was adopted by Lenny Robredo after the community started to use it, and Lenny like invited like doctors to check it out if it's safe, like experts. So again, no, it's the lab is more of an incubation space for new ideas, a space to be a child again and play and create. Another project that I really love is by Krista Nogueras, who is a mom and a visual artist specializing in sculptures. And this is now her business, a social. She's now a social entrepreneur. But it started really by talking with the Yakan weavers from Mindanao, from Basilan, and asking them about their process. How do you do this? And then asking each other, how do we pass this on to our children? And that beautiful exchange just started and it grew. And these are the samples of the masks they made together, respecting the tradition from that area of the Philippines. And it reached me. So my daughter and I bought some. It, and it was a beautiful exchange. As I've said, the maker movement, it's a global movement, and we found this organization online, Open Source Medical Supplies. They're still there, and they're just sharing projects all over the world. And I guess we also adopted some of their designs, just looking at their strategies or how are they communicating with each other, and adapted us to us. Because of the pandemic, our problems are now shared all over the world, and it's really good to connect with them and see how we can learn from each other and possibly co-create. Earlier, I showed Mitch Dulce's design, and that was translated in a lot of languages. Um, Mikoshi shared it here. I also love this project by Ben Hur, um, which is an open source status tracking project. Basically, it counts the number of recoveries, deaths, infections in the Philippines, but every information is crowdsourced. It's based on grassroots communities, and you can find this design at GitHub. Like, it's just there, and a community is barangays are giving him like information, and I think it's a very wonderful project. This is as Kay said earlier, I started the publishing lab, which used to be a bookstore, but we had to close because of the pandemic. And 2 years ago, we started a project. It's called Kopya, wherein we use our technology to give free access to publications about the sciences and the humanities. One of our partners is Joseph Finito, who is the head of Read for Hope, and she has been building libraries for almost a decade in Samar and Leyte. And we wanted to bring this small device to that community and create a library with them. So this small device is called a Raspberry Pi, and it runs on open source software called Calibre, which a community can learn how to do easily and develop on their own. So they create their own library. As we share our library, if it's not for them, if they don't believe that, they can put their own books there. So in that way, it democratizes the process of storing knowledge. Um, so during the pandemic, it's hardware based, so that little computer that you don't need to have Wi-Fi to use it. You just need a device to interface with it. Um, it becomes sort of irrelevant right now in a sense that we're all online. So what we did is we're now doing like a Marshall PDF library for teachers and researchers to use for distance learning. So we also have a Facebook community where we share free books, so we can use it in class. One of our co-founders is a historian and a teacher, so it's very important for her community to have access to learning resources. We also did Guago. We also did a project with Agham wherein we made infographics about the pandemic and made it free online, so anyone can just print it. This pandemic created an infodemic, like wrong information about medical cures, conspiracy theories, and we wanted to respond to that. As an organization, we are really focused on disseminating information to fight the infodemic and to make the public know, to inform them what to do in this crisis. Um, Again, no, the DIY, I'm not sure if you're familiar with zines. It's DIY magazines, handmade magazines. So it makes anyone a publisher. So anyone can publish. We were actively doing this, and the community, I saw them actively doing this because of the current infodemic that's happening. And we really want to inform people, the public, properly about what's happening so we know what to do and what's the problem. Um, this small zines was from Situation, a regular program that we do in Guago, and we invited Chloe Cruz, who's a very good designer, and the mother of the nurse who got viral and died during the pandemic. The zine wants to let people know that story outside the internet, because a lot of Filipinos doesn't have access, and we have to face that. But we need print uh, to relay information during this pandemic. Um, as Kay said, no, I'm an advocate of free press. I have a lot of friends from the journalist community because I am also a writer. Um, I actively write before in GMA Science and Technology. I actually write about the intersection of tech, arts, and culture. And during the pandemic, I really realized the importance of journalists. They're also like frontliners, because you can't know what's happening in the grassroots community if you're not there, and it's very unsafe. So we did a project together with Lockdown Lab, Quago, because it's separate organizations, although there's a lot of intersections, um, and did customized PPE, especially for journalists. And I just want to thank Nelly Nuez Gadillera of DTI for making us use the DigiFab to make this project. Next slide, please. It also came with zines telling the journalists how to be more safe, and posters that they can put everywhere in the Philippines. We're here in DTI in this picture, and we're really thankful for their help. They donated a lot of face shields, and we're helping community journalists who are part of, because one of our founders is Jess Aznar of New York Times. So his community of photojournalists was given the bags, but they're also connected to communities that is far and we cannot reach them. And the face shields that DTI gave us reached communities in Cagayan, for example. Um, um, I would also like to thank Haraya Labs for giving us a 3D printer. So again, a radical generosity. It's founded by Paulo Espiritu, and they're also into educational technology. And it's a picture of the PPE when you wear it. Um, right now, we're also developing a book vendor because we lost the space, and we still believe that people need books to be informed. So we're hoping to finish this soon, and I'm making it in the video that you didn't see with the guy there, Martin Miranda. Next slide, please. Next, we were featured in CNN Live for the communities projects that are so beautiful. And we were also featured in Taiwan by a magazine and invited to talk in a tech innovation summit. Right now, we're featuring the makers. I just want to share Simon Gregory, the one who made the PPE sanitation box. And it's very DIY now how we do it. Anyone from the community can recreate the design to feature a maker in the community. And right now, you can see the project of Simon is an AI social distancing platform for office. We're also doing a zine about science and technology under martial law, which we are celebrating today, the anniversary of martial law, to hear from the sector um, how parallel what's happening right now and before. We're also starting a class on philosophy of technology because we really believe that technology is rewiring what we are, and it should be a tool for social good. Sorry, I'm like, this is already like fast paced. Um, an artist from the Philippines, Mark Salvato, shared me this beautiful PDF of an essay written by Nicanor Chong in 1994. And during the time, we faced this economic crisis, and I really love what he wrote. He wrote, in times of crisis, artists should find the community which will be their base and their mission. So I think that spirit is really felt not only in the lab, but in this invisible community of makers around the world, around the Philippines. So I think this quote centers us on that. Reina Reyes gave a talk, and I really love what she said, no, inviting everyone in this uncertain time to begin again and don't be afraid to restart. Um, Again, no, I wanna say that we are all makers, even if you're just cooking caldereta. Um, Food, you make food. Mothers, they make babies. They natural creators, and I think it's just finding what kind of creator you are and trying to find your place in a community and sharing what you can make. Lastly, finally, this bit.ly link goes to the community. Just go there, and this is our email in Quago and our social handles. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zika. Community, despite distance, prevails. The Lockdown Lab is proof that Filipinos can give each other a better life, one small design at a time. And it's a form of resisting the negativity that is around. We are in a very special intersection of tech and communication that allows us to form whole ideas by coming together with our very own parts, sort of like Volk 5. Okay, guys, we just finished two amazing episodes from two brilliant leaders. I hope it fired you all up as it did me. I would like to invite you all to find the Lockdown Lab on Facebook. We took note of, or took a screen grab of what Ms. Zaika showed on her presentation, and hit the indexproject.org to read about their movement, because these ladies are in the middle of very exciting developments. Let's invite Liza back in so we can begin our fireside chat. The fireside chat is a quick, warm back and forth with our speakers. We took some of your questions down, and we'll have a quick chat with Liza and Zaika so we can further talk about their salient points. For those watching on Facebook, we encourage you to send in your questions as well in the comment section. Okay, so incoming question. 2020 has been a lot, to say the least, and with all the limitations, it's quite a challenge to keep inspired and motivated. What do you think designers should do to keep in mind in order for them to overcome this rut? So hitting artist blocks or designer blocks, or being bombarded with all of this how can you both, what do you suggest for designers out there? Ms. Liza?
So I think that's a really, really difficult question. I think, I mean, of course, it's a really, really big ask to ask the designers of the world to really carry some of these very ugly problems that the world is facing right now. And it isn't something to be done solely by the hands of designers. I mean, most designers will be familiar with working across different disciplines and working with different types of sectors and types of organizations and entities. I think what I would urge each and every one of us to do is to make it personally relevant, because I think in order to really be able to clear away a lot of the noise is to be able to have and to feel anchored in oneself and to feel there's something meaningful and there's something personally motivating in order to unlock your talents, your creativity to serve a pressing need. So I think it's important to put yourself first and to say, okay, well, why do I want to do this? What is my purpose in being able to understand what the problem really is, but how do I make it relevant for me? Because it needs to be personally motivating in order to be able to start unraveling and to start reviewing, refreshing. So I think start with you as why it's motivating.
All right. Ms. Zaika?
Uh,
So
that's,
besides being personally relevant, no? Yeah.
that's so beautiful what Lisa said. I also believe in that. Making it really personal for you because it starts from there, and it's hard to design solutions. And if it's not personal, you're gonna give up. Basically, you're gonna give up. And but for facing a creative rut during the pandemic, I think most of us are just paralyzed. Most of us are just experiencing the Zoom fatigue. And um, Andre Pamintuan, who invited me to be here, um, organized a talk before, and there I met Benedict Bernabe, and he's a yoga teacher and a theater actor. And what he said stuck with me. He said that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to do, to create, and to just pause and find your purpose. As Lisa said, no, find what really moves you. This is really a time to really reflect and reimagine our lives.
That's an amazing answer. And I love how it implies that resting is part of the creative process. It's not stopping, right? It's not stopping. I had a mentor once who told me, never hurry, never rush, which is to say, sort of pace yourself, sort of get into the groove, do not reduce your body, find ways to work with it. You've got an amazing question, Max. How might we support businesses to rebuild and shift ways of working that increase productivity while focusing on social impact? I guess you could look at it in terms of profit versus people. From a design and production perspective, are these mutually exclusive or are they actually twin oars that can get an idea feeling? What do you think, Ms. Liza?
I think, I mean, again, coming back to what was said earlier, which is it's okay to take a pause, and even with businesses as well, in terms of whether you pivot. I think what's very, very clear for the entire world right now is that business as usual really cannot continue. So I think even pre-COVID, we've been building our businesses and looking to maybe some of the tech giants in terms of behaviors of how to run organizations, the sort of move fast, break things, be disruptive, do things the lean way. There's so much lean that there's no fat on the businesses to withstand any kind of pandemic or crisis for that. So I think it's okay to rethink business. Again, how to make your businesses resilient for future crises. I mean, it's okay to start thinking of your risk profiles already now. I mean, it feels very dystopic to only think about problems, but I think in the long term, your social impact will come through stronger if you have a sustained business model that can ensure that you can provide the products and services that are needed and addressing real problems and human problems in a human-centric way, life-centric in many ways, because we have the environmental ecology to take care of as well. But I think helping to rebuild and shift is actually okay. And it's okay if it means making some very, very hard decisions. But there is no social impact if your business doesn't survive or doesn't thrive. So that's maybe my 2 cents on how we could support businesses. But I think much that it's a personal reset for all of us. We also have to look at our the framework in how we run our businesses to make sure that they can have an enduring future if they are to serve people's needs.
I feel like that was exactly what Arundhati Roy was saying in the quote from Ms. Zaika's presentation earlier. Do we drag the carcass of our business that was failing everyone, even the people working for it? Or do we use them in the new portal that is given? That's very good realization. Okay, I got another question here. Ms. Laika, maybe you'd like to take this one. How can we better humanize design amidst limitations during the COVID pandemic? And there are so many limitations. So maybe you can share how Lockdown Lab has been overcoming this, especially for designers who are listening to us right now and feeling this overwhelming limitation of everything.
I think again, no, what Lisa said is very important. Start from yourself. So you're a human being, right? So, what are your needs, and just start from there. And when, for example, you want to discover like what does a community feel like, to start from you, and then if it resonates with a bigger audience or population. I saw a lot of people using just Google Docs asking questions. Again, Andre Pamintuan did the I Lost My Gig project, which aimed to help at a lot of creatives who has lost their projects. Because, for example, the theater people, we can't hold plays anymore, right? Galleries. There's no art galleries like anymore that we can go to. Right now, some are open, but you're still scared. There's this anxiety in your head. So what he did was he sent like a Google Doc that people can sign and ask questions, honest questions. And as a director himself, who's a producer, he is aware of the personal struggles of this artist. But he also sent out that survey. So I guess it's a conversation between yourself and the community, and it's really that.
Okay, I got one that I love both of you to take on. Very specific. Any unique idea on how we can survive in this global warming that greatly affect our health in the future? I guess what you can do is maybe quickly detail a project that you like, or a design that you like, may not have won anything, but it directly addressed global warming, and we still have potential. Ms. Liza?
There's again a very, very difficult question. But
Maybe one project that detailed that you kind of like, that you felt was very promising. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and if it was easy, it would have been done already. Trust me. I think how we can survive global warming in affecting our future health. I think this is one of those helicopter view kind of positions that we have to take, which is that it comes back down to the individual. I mean, when you have such a global challenge, it becomes so abstract and almost impossible in terms of how to actually be in control of being part of the solution, let's say. My view is that, I mean, it comes back down to, you know, as Ms. Syker says, back to the individual, back to the community. How do you create the symbiosis between yourself and the people around you in order to show leadership, especially where there is a lacking of maybe global leadership around working fast to maintain that greenhouse gases are at a safe number, so that societies, environments, and the climate around us doesn't degenerate even further. My view is that there are individual things that we can do already in terms of being able to feel and be part of controlling that process. I think, you know, our dependency on fossil fuels, of course, this is something that we have all to take account of, you know, whether it's actually minimizing the amount of energy that we use, our diets in terms of eating a more plant-based diet to drive down the demand of meat consumption or dairy consumption, etc. You know, the way we consume, you know, like buying things, you know, without the consideration of potentially repairing or fixing. It gives me great hope that Ms. Syker has been talking so much about the maker community and how there is this feeling of creativity and ownership over your things and ideas that can manifest into quick prototypes and prototypes that can actually deliver results fast for people that need them most urgently. So I would say that there's a myriad of different things. Of course, we have to look to our political leaders and apply pressure. We have to look at our patterns of consumption in terms of basically using our consumption power to make statements about how potentially slow these large corporations are in terms of addressing the climate agenda. So we can apply pressure in different ways, but the responsibility lies with us in terms of making individual and incremental changes to our day-to-day habits and our life. And by that, you know, we're showing leadership to the people around us in our communities to really encourage them to also take action too. We can't just wait for the politicians and the business community to just wake up. They are definitely awoken, but it's such a big problem that it takes everyone's involvement and it takes everyone's action to make the future of our world a better place.
Right. Wow. I love how you brought it back to the individual and the community as well. Ms. Liza?
What a big question. You're intimidating the two of us.
Who asked that?
Lisa gracefully answered. I think for the community, we can help through journalism. So We can help apply the pressure Liza is talking about. And user skills and communications to really voice out what's happening in certain communities in relation to climate change. I think the difficulty in the question is it's not specific. So,
Right.
what exactly, like, what area or
What
sector
aspect? Right.
are we talking about? So, I am not an engineer and I am not like a expert designer, but I have a community of people. I can just throw your answer if you have a specific community already to help or a sector. Let's just throw that to the community and they will just go there. Let's solve this together. And I think um, while it's important to start with yourself, it's so important to have this conversation around different kinds of people and really
Mm,
ground yourself in a community.
mm. Okay. There's another. Wow, I love how your presentation sort of got everyone tickled because we've got some very heavy questions. Here's another one coming up. Here's another one coming up. All right. Are there any initiatives that aim to integrate design thinking into mainstream slash traditional education? Why do you think schools are incredibly slow to adopt and adapt and introduce these modes of thinking? I feel this is with relation to Philippine education, but if you could answer any part of this very loaded question, just to give your 2 cents of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Liza.
Yeah.
Sorry, I go ahead.
So Miss Saika, you go first.
That's
Okay.
my friend, Nikki.
There you go.
Nikki is a visual artist. I guess this also, like, I think I see it also as a critical constructive feedback for the powers that be, I guess. But I guess right now we should approach it with more love. I guess everyone's like just suffering and like having a headache. Like Lisa talked about management leadership. It's really difficult. That pressure, that burden to lead a group of people in like a tightrope, like
Mm,
it's really difficult. And I guess although it's very important to integrate this in the classes, in the curriculum, the our educational system has a lot of problems, and um, I am not sure why. I don't want to say things that might be quoted and I'm wrong. But I hope because of the pandemic, they become more open to this kind of mindset, this kind of problem-solving mindset that embraces failure and growth.
Yeah. Again, I think similarly, we're in a we have great opportunities now to look at the way we live our lives and what kind of future we're creating for the next generation. And I often think that there is fear change. Perhaps educational systems are just based on, would you say, sort of on history, and maybe a system which which has a certain supremacy attached to it, which is that a certain Western way of viewing education is a better quality of education. And I think oftentimes we're not talking about the diversity that we should be having in our educational systems, which also means that placing placing pressure on students, teachers, pupils to fit a certain mold within society. I mean, there has to be shifts in every single part of the supply chain, let's say, and that's also about how we think about professions and careers, and what kind of holistic sort of characteristics do we want to train up our children to be able to handle in an ever-changing world? So if we can change paradigms already now, where we see youth movements all around the world that are just tired of these old paradigms. They're tired of being told that they need to finish school, they need to get a college degree or university degrees in order to get the jobs. Well, I'm sorry to say it, we're failing. We're failing big time in terms of being able to meet that type of demand or keep it sustained, because it's potentially flawed, and it is showing to be a flawed model. And I think the youth will rise up and demand a different type of education. And we need to support them in being able to find the right skill sets and be able to guide them in the direction that, that can help safeguard their future prospects. Because we're seeing a world that's going to be very, very different to the type of schooling that we've had. So we ought to be open-minded, and we ought to be trying different things. And I think design thinking methods and training already at the school level would be wonderful if it was understood by the status quo. We want to build up critical thinkers, and we want to build up students that can think creatively and can act creatively and can also apply those skills in leadership roles, because we need them to feel confident about their future.
Yeah. Okay. Liza, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to resonate with that. It's nice to hear that from an outsider. I guess one of the problems is also standardization. So every community, like Philippines, is super big, and every community has a different need. And how do we contextualize our curriculum? We're trying to standardize and control what they learn, and we don't even know what's relevant to these communities that we haven't been in. So I hope we become more open. As Lisa said, that was really beautiful. To new ideas and to reimagining what's really good for the future of our kids. Because I'm a mom, so that's all.
I mean, I have one thing to add. I mean, I'm also a mother of a 6-year-old too, and I use this analogy a lot insofar as so here in kindergarten they have they arrange these day trips where kids go out collecting litter in parks, and it's kind of to train them and to teach them about sort of being responsible. You don't throw away your trash. But what a metaphor that we send our children to school for them to pick up the litter that we are leaving behind, and we're showing our irresponsibility so much in the face of these children that are just like little sponges. They are there to kind of absorb and learn about the world. But what we're teaching them is that they have to pick up the mess that we leave behind. So I think it's our duty and our moral responsibility to give the children of the children and the next generation and the future, essentially, like the respect that they deserve, which is that they shouldn't be collecting our litter. They shouldn't be correcting our problems and fixing things that we've made a mess of. So it's kind of a moral responsibility as a designer, as a maker, as a creator, and as a leader, to say that we hold our next generation with that much respect, that we will just try to leave the world in a better place than we found it.
Got it. I love how you all sort of brought it all together. And well, I have my own questions. I'm gonna probably cycle back to you guys. later on. You will need to wrap up a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. It was great chatting. What an opportunity. Thank you again for speakers, Liza and Zika. Keep safe where you are. All right, it looks like we're almost winding down for the day or the night. Let me just give you a quick recap of what transpired on the first day of the virtual IDC. Abdulgani gave us his opening message underlining the importance of elevating Philippine design by grounding it in our very own resources and culture. Following this, we invited to the spotlight Liza Chong of the Index Project, Denmark, where she discussed the game-changing and life-changing and life-saving role of design in our daily lives. Shortly after, we had Macatoman of the Lockdown Lab share about making design available and accessible to all. We had an interesting chat with Liza and Zika, further discussing what design means for all, especially in these rapidly changing times. Hope all of you were able to pick up some key learnings from these two amazing women. Comment on them below or share your learnings with us. I want to thank once again our partners for this year's IDC, our official media partner, Adobo Magazine, British Council, and Bensalido Architects, our event partners, the International Design Conference, Design Futures, Better Normal by Design, will be back on September 23rd with JF Ligurd of the Board of Innovation. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages for more news and information on the IDC 2020 and our other programs. Share this event to your designer and non-designer friends by using our hashtags, hashtag IDCPH2020, hashtag Better Normal by Design. To close our session, Design Center of the Philippines, we'd like to share with you a harmonizing session with Dr. Marian Alonso, the medical chief at the farm at San Benito and Lipa, Batangas. We know the lockdown has dramatically changed our life rhythms, and some are still in the process of adjusting and managing our new reality, our new normal. These sessions will be shared with you, our audience, at the end of each day of the International Design Conference. We hope with these harmonizing series, we will be able to provide you with new tools for balancing well-being. Remember, the rest is part of the creative process. A daily reminder to stay in tune and care for your physical and mental health. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Good day once again. Welcome to the lush greenery of the farm at San Benito. Today we will be focusing on the amygdala. The amygdala is that part of the brain that hijacks us when we become emotional and we lose the rational thinking part of our brains. I will introduce you to this exercise. It's called Body Talk Access. And it's basically just measuring how many palms from where the head meets the neck, how many palms does it take to reach the forehead. So most people would have 5 palm sizes or 6 palm sizes, depends on the hand of the palm, the size of the palm or the size of the head. And for every palm position, and I will be guiding you, you just take 3 breaths. So let's start. Breathe in, breathe out. And then tap. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Go to the next. Following your own rhythm. last part is putting your hands just above the ear level. And then choose one hand to tap. So this very simple exercise embraces the amygdala and other lobes of the brain, and the tapping is actually a simple technique to make sure that the head, the feeling realm, and your willing realm or the action realm are all connected. So that's what you call body talk access. When you feel things are out of control, just do that. If, for example, you have no time to do all these things, just go straight to this one. Breathe in, breathe out, and gently tap. While it seems very simple, when you do it regularly, you will see the benefit of this one. You know, it's like an analogy of walking on grass. When you walk once or twice, not much difference. But if you continue walking on the same pathway later on, a trail is formed. And that's basically the same with our brain pathways and our cells in the body.